Hey, what's going on, guys? Tom here, and today I want to talk about a very controversial subject, and that is working for free. Should you work for free? I see this in forums. I've seen this on people like D-Rock's page. Shout out to D-Rock. There's a lot of mixed comments and mixed emotions about it. Obviously, everyone wants to get this bread, fam. I think, in my experience, it's really helped me get my career going and get my feet wet in the industry. So I'd like to explain how it worked for me and how I think it could work for you given this year's insane climate and everything that's going on. So in my case, I graduated school at the end of 2005. 2006, I was on my own assisting, and I had dreams of becoming a photographer. In 2007, I moved back to New York. I was assisting, I was interning for a photographer. I worked at a gear rental house. I was trying to get my feet wet in a few different places just to try and learn as much as I could. I worked for different styles of photographers, whether it was fashion or product or food or whatever. And then eventually in 2008, the economy turned upside down and there was a crisis and no one knew what was going to happen anymore. And the photo business pretty much changed permanently after that. Big brands were cutting their budgets. The good old days where people were making $1 zillion on photo shoots were pretty much over. I mean, those jobs still exist, but I think it's much less than it used to be. So where did that put me? So instead of being scared, I kind of took it and ran with it. There's still brands out there, and obviously they need content and they need pictures for their website. And remember, this is 2008. This is like pre-social media. It was way more catalog-y and magazine-y and all that back then. Social media was still kind of in its infancy. There was Facebook and MySpace, but it wasn't really on phones like it is now. I mean, I don't even think the iPhone had copy and paste back then. So just to put that in its place where you guys can really think about the landscape back then is totally different, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. So in my case, there was a lot of different scenarios. I had friends that were selling t-shirts and stuff like that, goods that they were making, so I would shoot the pictures for them. I would make pretty much no money. They might give me some stuff for free, or occasionally they would just cover the cost if I needed to rent something, but at that point I had owned my own lights because I was really committed to doing this, shooting tests for myself and stuff like that, trying to get myself to that position of becoming a working photographer. Obviously, I think this goes without saying, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to really grind out for many years to get to that point. And it's all good. I had no problem with that. I was in a position where when I was younger, I was living at home, so my overhead was really low and I could afford to take on these smaller jobs. That's a very important point to make. Not everybody can do that. However, I'll get to that in a minute too. So besides shooting stuff for friends that were starting brands, I was doing a lot of editorial work for magazines for free or basically losing money because I was coming out of my pocket to rent some lights or whatever. But I did this in the hopes that one day I could take this picture of this musician for a magazine and go to a record label and say, look, I can shoot this album art because I know how to take a picture. And then you hope that that job leads to an ad job, etc. So there was also a lot of businesses that were cutting their budgets so immensely. Maybe they're smaller brands and they were just scared to put money into this. They didn't know what was going to happen with the future. So a lot of these established photographers don't want to do these jobs anymore, or they were jobs that they wouldn't be interested in anyway. Perfect example. I was working for a photographer who was doing fashion photography for an e-commerce brand. It was like a flash sale site back when those were a thing, and they needed still life photography. Obviously, I wanted to get his blessing. I didn't want to step on his toes. So I spoke to him and said, hey, I really want to do this still life stuff. I know that you do it too sometimes, but I don't want to step on your toes. I know they don't really have much of a budget at all, and I don't think you'd be interested in doing it, but I wanted to clear it with you before I reach out to them and see if I could do it for them. He's like, thank you so much for asking. Yeah, I'm totally cool with you reaching out to them. From there, I reached out to this client that I used to be an assistant on, and all of a sudden now I'm doing shooting jobs for double the rate. Still not a lot of money, but I say all this to say, by doing this free work, it really gives you such a spectrum of different jobs. Like, you can do all these different styles of photography. You can really see what you're interested in. Expectations are generally much lower when there's no money involved, so there's a lot less pressure to perform at a high level, and you can really be okay with being green at something. There was plenty of times where I was trying to get a ton of stuff done in a day. It wasn't realistic, so maybe it took 2 days or 3 days, and the client doesn't care because they're getting stuff for free. A lot of these jobs were done in my garage, which is also great because someone can send you the stuff. You could do it at your convenience. You can spend all night working on it, which a lot of times I did, and I was editing everything myself, which was, largely a nightmare. I don't like to retouch at all, but you really learn a lot, and you learn what you need to shoot for to give to your retoucher in the future. So you really learn so much about all the steps going into it in the workflow. Everything down to how to pack the bag for a location job. What do you need to bring? What's the best way to pack your car or your truck? What do you need to rent? What's better to own than rent? All these things matter so much. To take it a step further, you can learn what you are capable of as a stylist, because a lot of times on these jobs, there's no stylist, so you're styling everything yourself too. I'm talking about product photography specifically. I would know, well, I'm not really going to be good at styling this, so maybe, I should try and have a friend who's also trying to get into the styling world join me on this, and we can collab and make no money together, and we can make some nice pictures for our books. And that's really what it's all about, is trying to grow your brand and trying to build your book to say to the next person with a couple more bucks, hey, I can do this, please hire me. Besides experience and building your skill set, the third and most important thing is you're building relationships. This is so important because in such a close-knit business, relationships are everything. A lot of times people will get a better opportunity at another brand, and if you're easy to work with and you can get the job done, you'll get taken to the next place. So you can grow your roster of clients just by people going through their own particular journeys and they bring you with them. People just want to work with who they're cool with. That's ultimately what it comes down to. If they can tolerate hanging out with you for 10 hours and you can do a good job for them, you're probably going to get hired again. So as I'm assisting, I'm also trying to shoot on a day off for free, assisting, shooting, and just trying to keep the calendar full and just trying to get experience and keep the dream alive. Eventually work my way into getting shooting jobs that are more than my assisting, and eventually, like my old pal Johnny B told me back in the day, don't stop assisting until it's costing you money. So that's basically what I did, was I assisted until it was not really feasible financially to assist anymore, because I knew that I was getting more paid work for shooting than I was assisting. And in 2010, I transitioned from assisting to shooting full-time, and it's just been such a crazy ride of shooting full-time for 10 years. So how does this apply in 2020? So with the state of the world now, everything being so uncertain, brands not really shooting in their locations or in their offices or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're a wedding photographer and you're not as busy. Maybe you're a finance person and you really enjoy photography, and maybe you want to try and do it for a living. Well, there's plenty of brands now that still need photography. There's people that are still trying to start brands. Just because everything is crazy right now doesn't mean business is going to stop forever. People still want to make brands. They still want to grow their businesses. They still need to sell their stuff. And especially more than ever, small businesses need to sell stuff to survive. And maybe those businesses can't afford to pay the photographer that they used to have, so now maybe they're looking for someone that is going to come in at a lower rate, or maybe they don't have any money for photography. Maybe someone who's greener as a photographer can come in and say, listen, just cover the cost of renting the equipment and I'll be happy to shoot this for you. And I think that's a great opportunity, because at the end of the day, I know there's more established people that are saying, well, you're going to take money out of my pocket. And I don't think that's true, because I think that these brands don't necessarily want to spend the money anyway, so I don't think the money's even on the table to be taken. So you can take advantage of this situation by getting really nice products, and you can choose. If someone has really nice products, you can do the job for them for free, and you'll get really nice stuff for your book. You'll have this new experience and you'll have a new client. And hopefully when they can get, a little bit stronger financially, they can pay you to do their stuff in the future. But if not, you just move on and, it is what it is. So I was saying before that I was living at home when I was doing this. So that's a really important thing, because I had the luxury to maybe not do an assisting day here and there and take a shoot that was paying me no money. And obviously it's not the case for everybody. Maybe you have a family, maybe you have a mortgage, maybe you're already an established business person. The same thing reigns true for you too, because you could do this stuff on the weekend, and now that a lot of people are working from home, you have way more flexibility. So you can do that. You can also go to someone else's place. Say there's someone that is making ceramics. They don't want to ship all that stuff to you. It'd be a nightmare. They don't want to bring it to you, pack their car, whatever. you go to their location. You can get some cool behind the scenes. You can maybe even do some video stuff. You can set up a paper sweep and just shoot some stuff for their e-com website. You can really have a lot of flexibility on how you want to do things. And I guarantee you this will lead to paid jobs in the future. You have to do these little jobs and these free jobs to get to the paid jobs. It's just the way it is. If you look, there's plenty of these kinds of opportunities out there. All you have to do is ask around. I guarantee you there's someone that knows someone that needs photography, and they would be elated to not have to pay for it. Think about all the cool stuff you can do if you just say, hey, I'll do this for you, but can I take a couple of these pieces home so I can do a test shoot for myself? This has happened to me a ton of times. Even when I was doing editorial stuff, I'd say, hey, do you mind if I shoot X, Y, and Z product just for my own, my own use or whatever? And everyone's always cool with it. As long as you get their stuff done and they get what they need, it's almost never a problem. This is a great way to build a foundation for your business, and it applies to way more than just photography, but I know obviously we're speaking about photography in particular. I would really love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you are against this, or if you have questions or whatever, please drop me a comment below. I would love to continue the dialogue. I hope you found this video inspiring and informative, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Peace.